All right, our guest today is the winningest boxer in USA boxing history. That's right. He's won 4 Golden Glove championships, 6 U.S. championships, 3 PAL national championships, 6 ringside championships, and 3 Olympic trials. Oh, by the way, he was also featured in the Netflix original documentary Counterpunch, which I think is awesome, and I watched it again after watching it 5 years ago. It's just a great movie. He's a stand-up comedian, is a youth and corporate speaker, and I'm probably missing something else that he does, but we'll get to that on the show. Please welcome to the Real Men Eat Plants podcast, Cam F. Awesome. And Cam, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, man.
You know, the first thing I think, yeah, you bet. You know, I think the first thing everybody always wants to know about is like, okay, Cam Awesome, how did he get that name? And, you know, I try to explain to people it's probably like World Be Free or Ennis Freedom or, you know, guys that have changed their name in the past, and it's usually NBA guys. How did Cam Awesome come about?
So I'll start from the beginning if I can.
Yeah.
So I started boxing because in high school I had issues with my weight and just confidence issues, and stumbled into boxing, figured out a formula on how to win, became the #1 boxer in the country. But the reason why I originally joined the gym was to get my weight under control. And throughout my career, I still always had issues with my weight. And I won nationals in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. I won the Olympic trials to represent the country in the London Olympics. And I was suspended and kicked off the Olympic team for failing to send in paperwork for my whereabouts. After I was suspended for a year, I was depressed. I became a very negative person, and I didn't like. After getting through that year suspension, I didn't like the person I became. So what I wanted to do was symbolically kill off the old me and become someone new. And if I was going to do that, it's like, let's change our name too, right?
Right.
And I was Lenroy Cameron Thompson Jr. My dad's name was Lenroy, is Lenroy, so they call me Cameron, my middle name. And by middle school, that got shortened down to Cam, but my legal name has always been Lenroy. So on, like, when I fight, on my stats, it's Lenroy. So I was like, you know what? Let's change my name before I return to boxing. So I wanted to change my first name to Cam. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to be here, I might as well change my last name too. And why not Fossum? Because life's not that serious. Right? We're not going to pretend like, if people are going to say life's not that serious, you can't be mad at me when I show that it's not that serious. So I was going to change my last name to Fossum, but then I realized I'm a youth speaker. That's going to be inappropriate for schools. So I'm just going to change my middle name to the letter F and my last name to Awesome. So it's middle schools, I'm Cam Awesome. Everywhere else, please stress the F.
Yeah. Right. And I love it. And I love that you got a sense of humor about it. And I think it's a great way to deal with things. And speaking of dealing with things, so you talk about the weight issues that you had back in the day, which I'm guessing kind of led to some bullying. And the way that you dealt with bullying is the way that, like, my dad you kind of taught me to do it too. You know, nowadays it seems like they attack the bully, and the bully's got to go to the principal's office, and the bully's the one that's in trouble. Back in the day, if you went to your parents and said, hey, I'm getting bullied, my dad was just like, okay, do something about it. Stand up for yourself. If you don't like it, punch him in the nose or something like that. I mean, not to abdicate violence, but you stand up to a bully, you really find out a lot about yourself and feel a lot better about yourself, don't you?
Yeah, well, so my plan was to learn how to fight and then beat up any bullies.
Hell yeah.
Then once I learned how to fight, I no longer had to.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is bullies usually target the most vulnerable. And this is why I advocate for, even if you have a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, enroll them in boxing. They don't have to spar or get hit or hit anyone. Let them do the workout. because when they're around the boxing gym and that energy, they go back to school and they're like, hey, don't mess with Steve. Steve's a boxer. And even though Steve doesn't know how to fight for his life, the other kids don't know that. And Steve starts to walk around with that confidence, like, yeah, I am a boxer. And Steve doesn't get picked on, even though Steve can't fight for his life.
Right. Well, the one thing I do know, and I've always tried to even stress to my son, is don't mess with boxers. And so I think everybody kind of knows that, because a boxer's going to hit you 5 times before you're going to get a shot in, and he's going to come from different angles, and you're going to be on your ass before you know it. So nobody messes with boxers, Cam.
Here's this, even worse. Like, so when you go to national championships, and I've won quite a few national championships, but when you go to nationals, you go to weigh-ins and all of the boxers are there from all over the country. And there are guys who are beating their chests and they want you to know they're there and they got their shirt off. And then there's a group of dudes in the corner, goofy guys. They're laughing, they're giggling. Those are the killers.
Yeah.
Because
don't I know it? Yeah. Yeah. I've done ring announcing. Yeah. I've done ring announcing for boxing. I do it for a promotion called Supreme Hits, and I've seen those guys. I mean, those are the guys that you really like, wait, what are they so happy about? What are they, why are they so relaxed? They're relaxed because they know that they can kick your ass. That's why they're so relaxed.
Yeah, that's called security. We only hear about insecurities, but that's what security looks like. And so I've learned the quiet, unassuming people, those are the people you don't mess with.
Absolutely.
And the people who are confrontational, you also don't mess with those people. So basically, stay to yourself, right? Because boxing is tough and all of that. But if you run into one of these Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys or one of these MMA guys, if I were to fight one of those guys and I got on my ass somehow, or I'm on my back, everything I've ever learned is out the window.
Right. So but this is if you're on your back, though, Cam, because I think most boxers, so here's what an MMA guy has to do. And I call MMA play-by-play on TV for the Chosen Few Fighting Championships. I love MMA, too. I like combat sports. But one thing about those guys is they got to come inside if they got to try to take you down. And so usually, because I've heard from every boxer will tell you, they're never getting me off my feet because my footwork's too good. I'm going to pound them in the head 15 times before they can even do anything, and they're never getting me off my feet. They're getting knocked out. Is that true? Do you think you could do that to an MMA
guy? One front kick and all that boxing BS is out the window. And I say that as a boxer. I'm not like boxing. Oh, as a boxer, I will beat any MMA fighter in a boxing match. Easy. Mm-hmm. But I have to respect their craft.
Absolutely.
If I go into a cage, I put all my weight, my front foot, they kick it from under me. Good luck. Like, I love boxing, and yes, we're tough, but them MMA guys, they're built different. And the thing is, they're so unassuming. It's Absolutely. Like the nicest guys are killers.
Yep.
So I've learned just be respectful to everyone. When you see me, I'm a happy guy, I'm smiling. Yeah, I don't want anyone to even think I'm tough.
Right. And then hit him like a freight train. So there you go. So talking about your boxing career, it's kind of different because guys that usually have amateur success are having that amateur success, and then they feel, okay, if I'm going to get hit, I'm going to get paid for it. And they go pro, and they often go pro early in their career. So why not you? Why didn't you follow that path? Why didn't you get your 40, 50, 60 amateur wins and decide, okay, this is enough, man, and now I'm going to go make some money?
I did get paid for it.
Yeah.
So let me explain for your listeners. So I usually, when a boxer wins a national championship, mm-hmm. they turn pro. And They go fight in the pro ranks. But once you turn pro, you can never go to the Olympics. So I had no interest in going pro because I was more interested in the Olympics. Also, the reason why I was boxing was to lose weight. And then I figured out the formula to win. And then I was like, oh, I won nationals and I got to go on a plane. I was like, oh, I can travel for free. I'm just going to do this every year because I won one year. I'm just going to win every year. That was my attitude about it. And I got to travel the world. I've been to over 30 countries and I've never paid for a plane ticket. And I had the honor of representing the US and having these connections. So to me, that was just such an amazing experience. And most boxers do it to turn pro. I just started boxing so I could lose weight. And then I saw it as an opportunity to gain life experience and then take that life experience. So after I won my first national championship, I saw that as an associate's degree. So Rich, if you have an associate's degree and I have a national championship and we go for the same job, I am going to get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
just because in America, we love athletes.
So now, wait a second. Now, you said that you found out the formula to win, okay? So you figured it out. What is that formula? Because when I'm watching you box, I'm looking at a guy, first of all, southpaw, and southpaws to me are always a little bit crazy, but then you're a little bit unorthodox in the way you fight. You're doing things that I think a lot of boxing coaches and trainers would say, hey, don't do that. You know, you keep your right up if you're left-handed. You don't want to get hit in the head. Why are you leaning forward? What's going on? But you figured it out. What is this way that you figured out to win?
Fundamentals are crutches for the talentless.
Okay. I'm going to write that down.
Kenny
That
Powers.
is perfect.
That's a Kenny Powers line.
Love it.
Give credit where credit's due. What I figured out is if I don't get hit, I win, right? So if you strip everything down of the BS in boxing, if I don't get hit, I win. So when I first started boxing, we had this old scoring system. If I punch you in a scoring blow, I get 1 point. If you hit me, you get 1 point. The first time I sparred, I realized, oh, if I don't get hit, I win. So you say I have to be in the ring for 3 minutes. You don't say what I have to do. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to hit you once and then run from you the entire round. And I'm going to run from you until you're tired. And then the second round's going to come. I'm up 1 point to 0. Your coach is going to tell you, hey, attack me. And I know you're going to be strong for the first 30 seconds, but you're going to get tired after that. I haven't done anything yet, by the way. Now you storm me for the first 30 seconds. Now you're tired. Boom, I score a second point. It's 2-0. I'm still running from you. You're desperate. You're throwing wild hooks. 3 points, 4 points. How is he winning? Now, after the second round, going in between the second and third round, you're down 4-0. Your coach is going to say, you're desperate. You need anything to win. I give you the first 15 seconds to get your energy out. And then I just start jabbing you. And then on the scorecards, I beat you 17-2.
Mm-hmm.
It's not rocket science. Now, to be able to do that, I just have to be in great shape. And it takes some balls. Because my goal is, I was about 200 pounds and I was fighting guys super heavyweight, about 260. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I did that is because bigger guys are going to be slower. Grant, I'm not going to hurt them. And if they do hit me, they're going to kill me. But if I don't get hit, I win.
Absolutely. You know, and it's kind of funny. You have a smart approach to boxing. Now, I've met a lot of boxers and talked to them during my career, and one thing that I've noticed is sometimes a boxer can be too smart. So I know a boxer who was a engineering student at the University of Wisconsin, graduated from there, goes on and gets his master's in engineering, and he's in the ring and he's fighting. And one thing, it always seems like it's like, you know, something's holding you back a little bit. And he goes, well, you know, it hurts to get hit, and he doesn't want to get hit, and because he doesn't want his brain scrambled because he's smart. And I'm like, maybe this guy is too smart. Okay, so now you have actually said you don't have to be angry to fight. Boxing is a tactical sport. But can you be too smart? Do you think that in boxing sometimes being too smart can work against you in fights?
No, that guy's not too smart. That guy's fearful. because in the ring, I think I'm being very smart. Everything I do is a calculated risk. When I punch, I'm often going backwards. Yes, I know it's not going to be a powerful landing blow, but there's no way you could counter me if I'm landing my punch while going backwards. So these are calculated risks. So that guy, it's not that he's smart. If he was smart, he would work on not
There you
getting
go.
hit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like it. I didn't like getting hit so much. You would wonder why I even boxed.
Yeah. Because a lot of boxing is, and you got to be able to take a lot of punches. But you just said, "Hell with that! I'm just not going to get hit at all." And so,
Who said you have to take punches?
it seems like a sport where you got to take punches. Rocky Balboa talks about that. Even
Okay. Let's just go ahead and I'll throw this out here. I've never watched a Rocky movie. Never. I don't, because it perpetuates every negative stereotype about boxers. It makes boxing seem like all boxers are dumb. All of us are he has literal speech impediment. Like I have never watched a Rocky movie, but I've seen clips, and I've seen one clip where he gets dropped with a punch, he gets up and he keeps fighting. The ref doesn't stop and do an 8 count, doesn't wipe the gloves. None of that. None of this pageantry. Yep. And then you put this man who's never taken an actual punch for boxing in the Hall of Fame, even though there are boxers who've never even been considered for the Hall of Fame, who've died in the ring. I think it's a mockery to the sport. But it did get a lot of people involved in the sport. And I love Michael B. Jordan, and I watched the
movies are good,
and I loved them, and I'm a hypocrite. But and also if they updated the Rocky movies, because I can't watch something that's not in HD anymore.
Okay. One thing about boxing, though, is, and it shows in the Rocky movies, it takes Rocky off the street. Like, it takes guys off the street, and you meet a lot of fighters who basically didn't come from the fairy tale background that came off the street. I mean, I'm sure you saw that quite a bit. There is some good that boxing does, doesn't it, though? I mean, it could really help people.
Boxing has been the greatest thing has ever happened in my life. Boxing helped so many people. When I got involved in boxing, I went to an after-school program that the slogan was keeping kids in playgrounds, not prisons. That was the T-shirt we wore. Like, that was the concept. And we were told we were supposed to use sports to get us out the hood. That is what I did. But I did mine in an unconventional way. Most people would have turned pro. But what I did is I found the formula of boxing. I kept winning. And that associate's degree that I got in 2008, that one national championship, well, then I got 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10, 11. I collected these. I have doctorates in boxing and life experience. I've traveled to over 30 countries. I've connected with people of different cultures. And now I've leveraged that to build a career for myself for after sports. And I couldn't have done that without boxing. Boxing was meant to take me out of the hood, right? It did that. And I want other athletes to know that you don't have to go the conventional route of doing a sport and going pro. There's so many other ways of making a career after that sport. You just got to be a little bit creative.
Excellent point. And then, I watched you on the Netflix special Counterpunch on that documentary. Talk about that a little bit, if you could. Was that a good experience for you? I mean, out of that, was that something that has helped you with your current career and what you're working on?
Bro, it has been so helpful. Just because it lends credibility. Because, no one knows it. Like, I've won everything. But no one knows. Also, no one cares. But if I tell them, hey, my Olympic journey was documented on an original documentary on Netflix, Counterpunch, check it out. They're like, oh, you must be a real athlete if you're on Netflix. It's so crazy. I've won so many things, but the things that people know me for usually have nothing to do with winning.
One of those things,
But
yeah. Well, one of
I
those
like
things
it.
you're known for, and one of the reasons why we're finding you is because you're vegan. I mean, being plant-based, being an athlete, stuff like that, sometimes flies in the normal direction that people go. And for me, it was a movie called The Game Changers when I watched that said, oh, maybe this is a path that I could take because my health was bad, my weight was bad, I was on a bunch of medications, but I never seen like guys actually be vegan. You always think of like vegans as scrawny guys or runners or something like that. But then there's people out there like you doing the vegan thing, and look at you. I mean, whoa, look out. I mean, this guy, can knock you into next week. Talk about, I mean, the path of going vegan. Why vegan for you?
In 2012, when I got kicked off the Olympic team, I had gained a lot of weight. I got up to
Wow.
277 pounds, and was depressed. And I lost a bet, Manny Pacquiao versus Timothy Bradley. And Pacquiao, who I bet on, did not win, even though people thought he did. And had to take the Engine 2 28-day
Okay, Rip
vegan
Esselstyn
challenge.
stuff, yeah.
I didn't know when I agreed to the bet the diet entails sobriety. Uh, so I am man my word. I did it for the 28 days. I lost 32 pounds.
Wow.
It changed the way I looked at life. I became more of a positive person in those 28 days. But I said I would never become a vegan, but I'm just going to do this for a little bit longer. Uh, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years. And the reason my apprehension behind it at first was I've heard all these things about negative things about vegans, and I didn't want to be associated with that. And this is 2012 before it's cool to be vegan as it is now. But back in 2012, I was like, I don't want to be associated with that. But it didn't dawn on me that it's the worst members of every group that are the loudest.
Hmm.
Think of every group. And it's every time I would meet a vegan that was cool, I'd be like, oh man, I met Rich. That dude was vegan. That dude was cool for a vegan. And then I would meet somebody else cool. I was like, oh, they're cool. And I was like, I'm meeting a lot of cool vegans. I realized I haven't really run into any annoying vegans. I just heard all these jokes about annoying vegans. But since I have run into annoying vegans,
They
they do
do.
exist. But annoying people exist in every group. So why, like, being kind to animals doesn't mean you can't still be annoying. But I love that the vegan movement is more accepted now because it wasn't that accepted in 2012. I got a lot of pushback on it with training with the Olympic team, being on the national team, them not being open to a plant-based diet. But now they are.
Yeah, I think it actually works for a lot of athletes that do it, and especially their endurance. And if you're a boxer, man, oh man, endurance can really help you out in the ring. So being vegan, doing that plant-based thing can really friggin' help you out, can it?
Yeah, yeah. And I went from eating very unhealthy. I was eating 3 McDoubles, no mustard, no pickles, extra onions, extra ketchup, and 3 McChickens with cheese. That was one sitting. I would eat once a day, and it was that. 2012 wasn't a good time of my life. Let's just say that. But I went from going that to this Engine 2 diet of strictly plant-based, no added oil, no added fat, no added sugar, no added salt. And yeah, I was very gassy for like 2-3 weeks. Luckily, I was living by myself. But I love how readily available. One of the best things about becoming vegan to me, and the reason why I continue to be vegan, is at first I didn't care about animals. I didn't care about the environment. I did it for vanity. I didn't even care about my health. It was strictly I wanted my six-pack, and I kept it going. And then the longer I became vegan, the more I found other reasons why I
Yep.
should be vegan. And after the 28 days, I would say the reason why I'm vegan is I couldn't figure out a reason why
Yeah.
not to be.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and the only regret I have is that I didn't do it sooner. I mean, because it really, I mean, it makes that much of a difference. At least it has for me, and it seems like it has for you too. So let's talk about current Cam F awesome stuff that you are working on. So you're a speaker. Talk about that a little bit, and some of the stuff that you do, the speaking engagements that you have, and what are you talking about? What are you talking to people about that gets you, I mean, not only motivated, but keeps you coming back as a speaker at events?
Well, I wanted to be, I know I wanted to transition into speaking and be a professional speaker. And I looked at speaking the same way I looked at boxing. I figured if you want to go to the pros, you have to have a substantial amateur career first. A lot of people just like, oh, I'm a great fighter. I'm a great fighter. I can fight pro right now. I'm like, no. Develop a few years in the amateurs before you turn pro. And I considered youth speaking the amateurs. So what I did to become a better speaker is I would go into schools and speak about bullying, what originally got me involved in boxing, and try and inspire kids to join the local boxing nonprofit gyms that are free in their neighborhoods that they don't even know about. One of the gyms that I went to that changed my life. And I was doing that in schools all around the country. When I would go to different states to spar or fight, I would reach out to schools and speak. And then I didn't realize you can make a career out of it. And I decided to pursue that. I started taking it more seriously. I do stand-up comedy. Then I started doing stand-up comedy for students at schools and speaking to them. So all of my jokes are storytelling jokes. They'll have morals or messages attached to it. Because if you can get a kid laughing, you got them listening. If you can get them listening, you got them learning. So I got into speaking that way. I would speak about bullying, appropriate social media use, career goal setting, and resilience, as well as cultural competence. Because traveling to 30 countries, I learned to interact with people of different backgrounds. So I speak on cultural communication and intent versus impact, which is not just important for corporations, because I do this for corporations, but the reason why I have to speak about these topics to adults is because no one ever took the time to address this topic when they were students. So there's a lot of diversity classes, diversity groups in school and diversity clubs, but it's not really shown to the entire school. So in these talks, I just speak about respectfully communicating, and I speak about the do's and don'ts and things I've done in other countries where I put my foot in my mouth, or countries where I went to Azerbaijan and I left someone a tip and they found it so disrespectful. And my intentions were, I wanted to say thank you, but the impact I made on that person was detrimental. Now, when I speak about intent versus impact, I talk to these students about how we can have these same cultural clashing in America because we have so many different cultures who interact. Martin Luther King, his dream was for us to all live amongst each other. Well, now that we're living amongst each other, we're starting to have some times where cultures clash, and I help break those barriers down through communication.
Love it, and love that message. That is excellent stuff. So I know we can find you at camfawesome.com. Where else can we find you on social media then, Cam?
You can find me on at CamFAwesome everywhere because I'm not famous and no one wants to take my
Really? Hey, I think you are awesome. I think this has been an awesome interview. I really appreciate you being here. A terrific job. I love what you're doing and love that you're speaking to the kids too and stuff like that, because I mean, getting that message out there and the message that you're giving them, I think is something very useful for their life and stuff that hopefully they can take with them and remember. So, Cam, again, I appreciate it so much. Continued success to you, and thanks for being here, man.